Everyone, I'm excited to see you at Microsoft Ignite 2024. My name is Mike Bassani. I'm a partner in our Dataverse organization running the product and engineering teams. I'm hosting a session, Breakout 165, where you'll learn about how to get knowledge across your Microsoft Copilot, both with Copilot Studio and into M365 Copilot. Don't miss out on the Low Code Approach podcast. It's an excellent resource to keep you updated and motivated about everything related to the Power Platform, no matter where you are. So plug in and be part of the discussion as we explore the limitless possibilities of low-code development together.
Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of the Low Code Approach. I'm Sean Feeney, a Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Power Platform team. We don't have Wendy, but we do have...
I'm Jocelyn, the mean mini general of Power Platform Security. From what I understand, Wendy is still off trying to save Wilbur. Is that correct, Ken?
I believe you are correct. I forgot what the name of the farm, but I think she's also talking to someone named Charlotte. Again, my name is Ken Aguilard. I'm Principal Program Manager here on the Power Platform. And Sean, I think today we have someone who could be called the king of the Power Apps jungle, perhaps? Who do we have?
There's so many puns baked in the first 30 seconds of this episode. I really appreciate that. Hey everybody, we have Leon Welicki, VP and CPO of Power Apps, joining us today. It is Ignite. There's so many things going on. Leon has so much news for everybody. And I think we're going to try to get and make some sense of all of it, of what's going on at Power Apps. Leon, how you doing?
Very good. Very excited to be here and great to be with such great company today. So thanks for having me.
So, yeah, thank you.
I'm blushing, Sean. I'm blushing.
So one of the things we want to talk about is Power Apps and kind of where it's moving forward and what customers are going to experience with it at Ignite, right? I know we made a bunch of announcements at Power Platform Community Conference, and now we're bringing a lot of things to light at Microsoft Ignite. And I was hoping, Leon, you can at least set the groundwork for us at first, kind of like, what are the advancements at a high level and how we're thinking about Power Apps for our users?
Thank you very much, and that's a great question. So basically, one of the things that with the help of generative AI and agents we are introducing is the fact that we believe that applications will change significantly. So the world needs a lot of applications, but the shape of those applications, how do you build them, what do they do, will change profoundly. And we are on a quest to change how apps are built, used, managed, governed, and secure. And one of the key concepts, one of the things that we introduced as part of that change is intelligent applications. These are intelligent applications that make you faster, smarter, and happier when you use them, thanks to personalized experiences, intelligent assistance, autonomy. And how do we do that? Basically, our premise is every application will have a brain. And this sounds like a very abstract concept, but the main idea is that every application has a copilot with agents behind the scenes that powers all the intelligence. And that copilot is a copilot with Copilot Studio, which means that intelligence in the applications, instead of being something opaque that does just what it does and that's the end of it, is an intelligence that you can observe, understand, and extend and adapt it to the needs of your organization. And this is super important because things like typically like the filtering of a list or filling a form, things that are assistance on the everyday tasks. In general, when you observe that in other products, those things that are capabilities that are embedded in the product, you can use, you can enjoy, but you cannot extend, you cannot observe. In our case, you will be able not only to observe, see how they work, get recommendations on how to make better, but also adjust to the needs of your particular domain. Also, another place where we are making significant changes, because I talked a little bit about applications that change the expectation of what a business application is. Applications that make you more productive, faster, make you happier. Like basically, in fact, all of the things we have measurements. We have like what I call a perfect trifecta that we measure with Copilot, that we notice that customers have higher degrees of success when they use Copilot. 65% were able to create an application versus the ones that couldn't. Like with faster performance, up to 80% faster when you're creating an app from Excel, with higher satisfaction. When we measure our NPS and SAT, things like that, Copilot users versus non-Copilot users have 65% higher. But aside of the things that I was talking about, basic expectations of an intelligent application, where basically you have the app and an army of agents behind the scenes that you're managing to help you with your everyday tasks, we have the same for when you build those applications. So basically the main idea is that as you want to build one of those applications, instead of thinking of building an application, you think about building a solution. And to build that solution, you have a set of agents that are going to help you through the process. Imagine that you are a maker and you are sitting here and you have an army of people. You have like a functional analyst, a data modeler, a UI engineer, etc., all at your disposal to be there to help you. And you end up as the maker, making your app, but also managing those agents. Same for the end user. And if we talk about governance and management, the same applies there too. So we have this set of intelligent capabilities where for every one of these intelligent capabilities, be it how you make or how you use, we do it with security, governance, and compliance such that you can be safe all along the way. So the Power Platform is the most enterprise-ready and safest choice if you want to create intelligent software solutions. That was a long answer, but
No, that was a fantastic answer. Thank you so much for sharing all of that context. Now, help me get more concrete. Give me some tangible examples. With this new intelligent application space, what are some concepts and ideas, more concretely, of types of apps, automations, agents that you can build in this new age?
Perfect. And there are two parts to this question that we can get to. I will get super concrete in two dimensions. One in the things that you can build, but the other one are in the things that are going to be there already to help you along those lines, apps and agents and things like that. So let me start first with the things that are going to be there to help you, and then we'll talk about what you can build. It's going to be a good segue. So basically, when you come to an application, we recognize, for example, that there are a lot of tasks that people do every single day that take a lot of their time and that very little value. For example, trying to search data in a data set, understand that data set, and then act on that data. Once you find it, try to enter data, or once you get to a very complex entity, make sense of it. When you're thinking about end user experiences, for example, we're introducing, as part of that intelligent apps motion, a few agents that are going to help you very concretely with some of those tasks to increase success, efficiency, and satisfaction. One of them is the data exploration agent. So imagine that when you get to any list, you will have the ability to have this conversational experience in context, because a very important thing to be said before I jump here. Typically, when we think about Copilot, we think about the sidecar at the right? But we are way past that. And our Copilot experiences, maker and user, admin, it doesn't matter, are going to be fully integrated in the flow of work in a way that you might be interacting with a Copilot or an agent and you will not know. We don't want to, we want to reduce the friction that it takes to take advantage of all the things. So the main idea, and it's something that I should have introduced before, is that these experiences are going to be embedded in the flow of work of every day to maximize what you can do. So as a user of an app, you have also an army of people that are here to help you. So imagine, I'm using my app and I want to find a data record. I could have someone on my side that I could say, help me filter this thing. And I give that person instructions and it will filter and give me different visualizations. That data entry agent is going to be there. Sorry, the data exploration. Next, as I get to enter data, imagine that I need to enter a very complex form and I have an assistant that I can give them a lot of papers or images or pieces of content to enter all the data. I know what needs to be entered. I have the knowledge. I have the data. I don't want to spend the time inputting that. I could give that to the data entry agent as if it would be someone that is helping me. In fact, it's like an agent in the UI, but you don't know. We made it super seamless in the UI, so you don't know that there's an agent or a copilot behind the scenes. But that's what it is. That is the same that if I would give that to someone to do it for me. Then as you get into an entity, to any entity, form, whatever that is, let's say that is super big and I need to make sense. I could ask for a colleague, can you give me a summary of this thing? But instead we will have a summarization agent that is going to be looking and giving me all kinds of insights right front and center. And not only that, one of the things that we are introducing is Copilot extensibility, where you can make all these features your own. So that agent, the idea is that we're going to introduce a full loop where you can observe how the summarization is working. Are people clicking on that? Get all kinds of signals and observability over that. And then if you don't like it, or if you need to extend concepts for your company or whatnot, you can extend that Copilot yourself. So we have those agents that are built in that you can use or you can extend. And not only that, actually we introduce something super, super cool that is given an application. You could say, hey, I use this application a lot. Some parts I would like to automate. I already have these agents that I mentioned, but how about my own? We're going to make it such that we will analyze your app and automatically let you suggest some agents that could be created that are going to be associated with the app. This is super, super cool, actually. So imagine this. Let me say it again. You go to your app, ask to get an agent suggested to you. You will get 3 suggestions. If not, you can provide your own. And from that, we will create the full agent in Copilot Studio for you that is going to be running on behalf of your app. So that's one. The other thing, though, let me put a pause. This is for like the end users of our applications. But the other interesting thing is when you're making an application and how will these technologies help? So the same, like I'm sure that you also the plan designer. But when you're using the plan designer, you have this functional analyst that is helping you with finding, users and use cases. This data modeler, which again are agents that are collaborating among themselves for your success, such that at the end of it, you don't have an application but a software solution that is a set of tables, set of applications, set of flows that solve a business problem. And along the way, all the time, you have the best admin, governance, and control plane over it, where basically, as I mentioned, observability. Like in the Copilot hub, you could see which of those features are on or off, who are using them, what they are, security, where security and privacy and compliance is all the way through, and even agents like Advisor or things like that can give you proactive recommendations. So the long story short, there are things for people using the applications where they will get set of agents very concretely to help them with tasks that are 80-something% of all they use. That is, go through data, summarize data, enter data, but you can create your own. As a maker, you get agents that will help you with the main things that you do. That is, define your use cases, model your data, create the solution, create the UI elements. And all along, all the time, you have governance, security, and compliance that ensures that all of this that you do is done in an enterprise safe way, but also as all these AI rollouts to your organizations, your admins have visibility and control over what's going on.
This is so awesome, Leon. I feel like this is one of those commercials where every time you think they sold you the product, they're like, but wait, there's more, because it just keeps on giving. Before I worked in security, you may have known I used to drive the Power Platform connector ecosystem. So deep down, I'm still all about that extensibility. Can you share with me a little bit more about how you can use specific knowledge sources and actions and other types of knowledge sources in order to go ahead and drive specifically and optimize those in-app agents?
There are two ways for that. That's why I hesitated. I got over excited. I hesitated.
Dude, I'm excited too.
This is super exciting, by the way. I believe that intelligent applications, and when I say intelligent applications, I'm talking about the umbrella that includes how apps are built, how apps are used, and how apps are secured, governed, and managed. It's one of the most exciting things that I've seen in a very long time. But going back to your question, one way in which you can bring custom knowledge is there's one super basic and super easy way of doing it that anyone can do it right away. That is, even though all these Copilot experiences are shown in context of what you're trying to do, you still have the sidecar, right? And that sidecar is powered by the same instance of Copilot Studio that is there behind the scenes. We made that extensible. So the first thing that you can do is you could go to Copilot Studio and add all the sources of knowledge that you want to that Copilot. A super common scenario, by the way, that we see, super common, is people going and using generative answers to train the Copilot that shows on the sidecar on their documentation, for example. Such that if you need to ask questions about process or things that happen in your company, you don't need to leave the app. You can do it right there. So that's one way that is super simple, and it's available right now and everyone can try it, which is basically go to the Copilot that is supporting the app and add any source of knowledge, the most common being generative answers and documents. Now, each one of those other experiences, for our end users in particular, those agents that we mentioned before, the idea is that all of them can be extended. The one that we are introducing extensibility or making more, sharing more about is the one for summaries, where basically you could go to that skill, and again, you could edit like any other thing in Copilot Studio. But over time, basically the main idea is that any one of those agents are Copilot Studio instances, so you can add sources of knowledge. One typical case that we talk about is when you go to a list, for example, which this we are working through. But when you go to an intelligent grid, or one of these grids that you can have a conversation, imagine that in your company you use a lot of acronyms. Probably those acronyms we won't know. I mean, if they're specific to your company, we won't know. But the flow that we envision for that is one where, again, admin, security, and governance, maker, and end user, all of them come together to deliver, because the idea would be that you have our advisor, which if you didn't try it, I think you should try it. Our advisor is awesome. Imagine that it gives you recommendations that says, hey, I noticed that people are asking about this term, whatever that is. Let's say EVC, that is for our executive briefings. A lot of people are asking about EVC and results are not coming up. If you would define this term in your Copilot, that would result in this amount of increase. So then with that information, basically what I'm trying to say is what we are envisioning is that you can acknowledge, but you won't do it blindly. We want our tools to arm you with the knowledge and the visibility into what's going on so you can do it in a more informed way, specifically to the problem that you're trying to solve.
Leon, so one, if people haven't already turned off the podcast to like jump into Power Apps and do all these things, like I would be shocked because I'm hyped. Like I want to get in there and start working on this stuff. But I think, so with the introduction of Copilots in Power Apps, right, and so you're able to do all this new functionality, What does that look like on skilling for those teams, especially when you have collaboration, amongst people coming in, building new applications, or even updating the existing apps that they have for the inclusion of co-pilots into them to make them more robust, richer experiences? How does that work on a skilling level and like revamping your center of excellence at an organization to now be aware of the functionality in co-pilots with the Power Apps that you're making?
What a fantastic question, Sean. And this is one where we are looking at this holistically. So it's not just the features, which often, we always lead with like the end user feature or the maker feature, like our plan designer, which by the way, for folks that didn't try it, please do, because it's super amazing. It's a magic experience to create software solutions. We should talk a little bit more about it in a bit, but basically, in addition to those, we have like a fantastic governance and admin story. And we introduced a Copilot hub, where basically, I'm not saying that that's all the solution for skilling, but one of the problems that the Copilot hub tried to tackle, that if you get to the Copilot hub, you will see it at the top, is that you get a feed of what's new and the documents that teach you how to different material that teach you how to use the Copilot. So, in the past or for many other technologies that we had, if you want to understand what's coming and how to use it, you have to go to a million places. But one of the things that we are trying to do first to start helping in that, skilling journey is starting curating that in the Copilot hub right there, in the same place where you see how those features are used. And when you turn them on and off, you can get access to kind of like the feed of what happened and how to use. In addition, we have our monthly blog where we share all our improvements every month. That includes all the learn paths that you could take to learn different things. But I think this is going to, of course, produce the need for more skilling in the centers of excellence. One of the things that we are trying to do is figuring out how can we put that information front and center in more channels, such that when people need to reskill, they have it available. That said, the other thing that we are trying to do is making these things so easy to use and so obvious that certain scenarios will not need much introduction. But again, I think like one of the key areas of skilling is going to be admin, managed, and governance, where basically what you want to do is you want to do this in a safe way, because if with Copilot, we make it so easy to create apps, and now those apps have intelligence, they have intelligence everywhere. So here is where our awesome efforts around governance will pay off with very big dividends, because Power Platform is going to be like the best solution to roll out AI in the enterprise in a way that you can understand what's going on and have full control. And by the way, in the same place where you see how do you roll out, again, it starts with skilling.
So Leon, one, I'm not normally at a loss for words, but I've just been sitting here just taking everything in. And I'm just like, one, you're great. And Sean, we definitely need to have Leon back. And I think let's get him and Oleg together, and then we won't even have to talk at all.
Oh my God, it'd be amazing.
That would be just fantastic. So here's my question. The platform itself is transformed from when it was sort of like in its infancy, if you will, in like 2018 and so on, the Maker Studios and so on. And a lot of our customers may be ill-informed or hesitant to try out these new features because they're dealing with maybe sometimes outdated information. Plan Designer, for example, is a phenomenal tool. Can you talk a little bit about how the platform and the interfaces have transformed and made things just so easy for customers to use? Like you talked about the skilling. How easy is it, for example, to use Plan Designer, to just jump in and just start using it?
I love that question, Ken, because Plan Designer, I'll start with Plan Designer and then I'll move to other things also on the Maker as well, which follow the same principle. But one of the things that we are trying to do, and we introduce, typically the usual methods were user research, but now we are introducing a lot of in-product experimentation, is make sure that all these features are super intuitive and super easy to use. And the way in which we do it is through, we measure a lot of metrics around task completion, and like basically people can resonate with the things that we are doing. And the biggest main driving principle is basically being connected to the users that are using these solutions. If there is one thing that we learn with AI, is that some of the traditional methods that we have to build software probably don't scale to the velocity and needs of AI. And that's why I mentioned before that we introduced experimentation, very clear OKRs, KPIs, metrics, however you want to call them, around customer success, all with the goal of making sure that this is as simple as possible for our customers. And the other thing, as a principle that we try to do, is be more reductionist than we were before. So basically, use AI as an opportunity to show less things in the UI, to show less UI, to accomplish more. That's why, Plan Designer, if you look at that, basically One, there's a third leg that is basically try to make sure that we are moving super fast. As I mentioned, some of the rules that we had before might not work because of the velocity and the way AI features, like the velocity that AI features demand and the tight inner loop is learning from others that collect other successes or failures, such that we can accelerate that learning process. In the case of the plan designer, for example, I think we have a very nice and magical experience, but one of the things that we are looking, where we got feedback, is there's a little bit of friction in like the how you move from one step to the other. So we were looking at other places in the company, like in office, and how did they do like this kind of like always live editing experience. So the short of it is experimentation, measurement, learning from others, all of that connected to understand very well our user and have a very fast loop, such that with that signal, we reduce as much as we can and we focus as much as we can on like the main thing that they're trying to accomplish and if they succeeded or not. And AI and our push for AI and how we are doing it give us that context to create that loop.
So what I'm hearing right there, Leon, is that you're saying that, one, the tool is very easy to use and very intuitive. We listen very closely to our customers, so we have very tight feedback loops inside of that. And that you are probably working on something else that is going to be even more phenomenal that we have right now, and customers can look forward to even further innovation inside of the platform, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's a great summary. And actually, you know, like our experiences will be one of the things that we're trying to do and figuring out how through AI, we can make our experiences more powerful with less UI. So have a UX, a user experience that is super powerful, where the grain of outcome that you have of every interaction is very high, but not necessarily has a lot of pixels, doesn't have a lot of UI. And this principle that we are mentioning is not just for the plan designer. We are doing that also for the end user experiences. One discussion that we are having is, let's take model-driven applications, for example, which are not necessarily something that is super pretty. But what if, as we introduce Copilot, and we have all these agents that do a lot of work on behalf of the user, and your interaction is going to be more through those agents than through the rest of the screen. Does that give us an opportunity of, one, revamping the experience, but most importantly, two, remove as much as we can of extraneous element of that experience, such that we can have something that is beautiful, but with less things in front of you, resulting in less friction and more success. And again, I think that, but that's very similar to the plan designer. If you go to the plan designer and you see the places that you have to interact with or the experience, it's a very clean experience with very concrete and very, very, very well chosen interaction points and moments. And that you will see across, I mean, our hope is to put that, or not hope, our goal, our ambition is to put that on every experience. And one more thing that is very important, that is a third point that I didn't mention, is we are trying to make sure that we meet users where they are, such that we, instead of creating new habits, which sometimes we might need to, but sometimes probably not, is meet them where they are and get them to use those copilots, agents, whatever it is that make their life better, but in a way that is not so much front and center. They might not even know that they're interacting with that. But because we met them where they are in the task that they are already doing, all of a sudden, magically, their lives are better because we have those copilots and agents there to help them and to serve them. That's our ambition and our vision.
So, Leon, I've got one other question, maybe just a follow-up or statement. What are we doing about accessibility within the platform? Because I don't think we talk enough about accessibility and how we're addressing and meeting the needs of the entire community, the entire user base. We talk a lot about, all of the features, but what are we doing so that the platform is accessible to all?
I love that question. Accessibility is a topic that personally is very near and dear to my heart. And Power Platform in accessibility, I have to say, first, we are doing a lot on accessibility. It's an area of big investment for us. And we believe that we want to make sure that we create an environment where we include everyone and everyone is welcome to participate in the creation and also in the usage and in the management of those applications. Part of those investments to make it super concrete, Power Apps specifically, Microsoft has like very large accessibility scorecard across all our products. And products are graded with letters like in school. And there's a grading that is called grade B, that is the one that, even though in school you might not be that happy with a B, but grade B is pretty good in accessibility, because that means that not only things can be done, but they can be done in a delightful way. And there are very few products that reach that grade at scale, right? Large products. Power Apps is one of them. In our core scenarios, in many of our core scenarios, we have reached the highest level of accessibility. And what does it mean to our customers? First, that more people can be included. Very recently, we got makers with grade B, but also grade B, achieving grade B is super duper expensive if you are building an application. So when you build your application with Power Apps, in a few clicks, or even with the Copilot, with a few phrases, you have an app with degrees of accessibility that large corporations cannot have. So the power that you have as a builder in the accessibility space is much larger than the one of many large corporations, just with a couple of phrases.
So our customers don't even have to really think about it because it's built into the product, is what I'm hearing, right?
Yes. Basically, accessibility is something that is, again, is baked into the product. Not 100% of the scenarios cover grade B, but all of them are grade C. But basically, the main idea is we have some that are at the forefront of innovation of accessibility, and we prioritize the ones that are used the most. And basically, we keep expanding the reach of those scenarios that have those high accessibility standards. With the goal that basically, when you create a Power App, again, you get an outcome from an accessibility standpoint that is much better than what you could do in code with like reasonable effort. Like getting again to grade B is super expensive. And with Power Apps, as I said, one sentence, we create the app, you got it.
Yeah, I love that. So Leon, Plan Designer is a phenomenal tool, but I was kind of a little curious. We have many, many different personas. Can you maybe talk to us about the personas inside of Plan Designer and what that looks like?
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic question. And one of the nice things about the Plan Designer and the approach actually that comes with it is basically the fact that as a maker, you're building a software solution, not an application. So you start from a business problem and you're going to build a software solution, but you're not going to build it alone. You will have a team of agents that are going to be helping you, and you're going to be managing those agents. Those agents are going to be working together to help you succeed in the creation of that solution. And those agents are heavily specialized in different tasks. It's as if you have a team of people with different roles that you would be managing in the physical world. Let me give you a couple of examples. When you start and you provide the business problem, the first thing that you will get is a set of personas with who they are and what are their use cases. What do they want to accomplish? That typically, for many years, I worked building enterprise applications in the corporate world in IT, right? In corporate IT. And basically you start by, as a functional analyst, let me understand the requirements. Who am I building this for? What do they want to do? And Plan Designer, basically the agent, the data, the one that takes that role of that functional analyst, does a phenomenal job at understanding your requirements, finding who those personas are and what do they want to do. And you can have a conversation with that agent, by the way. It's not a one-shot thing, but it's something that you can evolve until you find like the state that you're happy with. Once you have that, the next thing is, now that I understand who I'm building this for and what do they want, one of the most common next things to do is create a data model. How am I going to store the data to support an application like that? And that's where you can engage that data modeling agent. That is the same that if you would have an expert in databases that is going to understand your functional requirements and what you're trying to achieve and create like the best database model to support solving that problem. And again, that's another one that you can iterate. I'm sure that most of the audience saw like the data workspace that we have today, where not only you could create a model, but you can iterate until you get it to your liking. And that's the same, right? It would be the same as if, as the manager of that team, you are telling like your functional analyst to find you like the requirements, the data modeler to model the solution. And once you're happy with the outcome, then you say, okay, I know what I'm trying to do. This is how I'm going to start it. Now let me figure out what are the best components for my solution. How do I create the best solution to solve my problem, given all these artifacts? And that's when you get a solution architect that will tell you, the best way of doing this is create a model-driven app to manage the data, maybe a Canvas application for a pixel-perfect mobile app that people will take with them. You may need a bunch of Power Automate Flow, Dataverse tables. You will have your Copilot in Copilot Studio supporting all of these. So that person that creates that solution architecture in the Plan Designer is another of the agents that will come back with that. And once you get to a solution architecture that you like, you say, okay, yeah, this is good. That's when you can engage the one that will translate, or the multiple agents, because it's Power Automate Flows, creating the tables, creating the app, that will go from the solution architect to create the actual different artifacts, which again, if you would be managing a team, those are all different people. And in this case, are all different agents that are working together, coordinated by you, the maker, but still working together to help you go from an idea, a business need, into a full-fledged software solution.
So Leon, it sounds like what we're doing is giving everybody this enormous team behind them to just enable them through the enterprise and make things just so much simpler for everyone to build these applications.
Absolutely. Everyone becomes a manager of a team of agents. Being that you're making something, or remember when we talk about the end user, you have somebody that is helping you explore your data, somebody that you give all the elements and is going to enter the data for you, somebody that will read things and will give you summaries. So basically, in all orders, for all personas that participate in Power Platform, we are giving them an army of agents that come in the box that could do things for them. And in the case of the end users, you can even extend, you can even hire more agents, if you will. That is by creating them or by getting others that exist in your organization that you can bring in your application thanks to the agent oversight capabilities that we discussed.
Yeah, I'm hearing everything I read in the Forrester report that just came out recently about increased ROI, operational efficiency, and everything that Forrester just pretty much proved to us, I guess, in their latest report.
Absolutely. This is the total economic impact of Power Apps report, right? The one that you're mentioning. Absolutely.
Yes.
And in fact, our ambition is that that's awesome. We want more. We want to be the most efficient platform to build the things the most efficiently and with the highest quality and create experiences that set the standard on how to rapidly and efficiently solve business problems at large in organizations. I guess what I was trying to say is like strong, yes, and we are going for much more.
In the spirit of education, help me understand, teach me a little bit about how exactly can we leverage custom agents that are generated by Copilot Studio, but also the ones that are generated from within Power Apps? Because I understand that that's something that we can do. Tell me how.
I'm glad that you asked because there's a super important thing that we're introducing that I did not talk about. My God, I'm getting old. One of the goals that we have in general is that if you have agents, be the agents that we come with the app, that's the obvious one. But if you have any agents that you create with Copilot Studio, Power Apps is going to be on Power Platform in general, Power Apps in particular, will be the best surface or the best place to put those agents to work for you. That's kind of like one of the challenges that we are going after. And one of the things that we did to solve that challenge was add a capability that we call agent oversight. And what does it mean? That basically you can very easily connect or augment your application with those agents, be because you create them yourself in Copilot Studio, or because you create them with the agent builder that I mentioned before, that we analyze your application and we created the agent. And the idea is that when you're looking at the app, it's very clear what and where did the agent work on your behalf, what did it do for you? And not only that, what are the places where it needs your intervention? You can intervene, and what are the places where you can teach the agent, train, basically, because if you have agents doing something on your behalf, let's take one step back. If you think about the agents as an augmentation of what you can do, that you're managing a team of agents doing things on your behalf. If it would be humans, you would want to know what they did, right? Sometimes you might have to correct what they did. Sometimes you might have to approve. Sometimes you might be fine. One of the things that we are doing in Power Apps is the equivalent of that. If every person will be moving to managing teams of agents, Power Apps is going to be the best place to do that, because we are introducing these agent oversight experiences where very clearly you can see where the agent acted on your behalf and have this feed of activity where basically you can understand everything that happened on an agent on your behalf and then act accordingly based on what is needed. So the short of it is, in your applications, if you have your agents, you will be able to bring them, and as they do work on your behalf, whatever that is, automating sending a report, some approvals. We have an application, for example, that we use to track the features that we build. And every couple of weeks, we need to send emails reminding people that have, under certain conditions, need to update their apps. That could very well be an agent that does that. But for me, what I need to do is understand, did it do the job? And did it have any challenges reaching out to anyone? Those type of interactions will be very simple in Power Apps. You won't have to build them. They will be just there for you to take advantage of.
Leon, so you bring up a really good point in, like, as you're incorporating agents into your Power Apps, like, it'll give you a list of, where there's intervention needed for making a more robust solution. And how do you see this changing the way that teams collaborate on app design, especially with, like, say I build something out and then I go away to another team? Do we actually have a change log that's produced for us? So, like, if Jocelyn or Ken took over the application, they not only know the purpose for building this application, but they know the steps that we took to get to the current state of this application. How does that change the way that teams work together and collaborate for app building?
What a fantastic question, Sean. And that's one thing that we are working through, to be really honest. And many of the things that I talk through the podcast are things that we're working through. There is an interesting thought. That's where all the work that we are doing, again, our governance efforts are paying off. Basically, the first thing is, if you have ALM on your application, at any point, you should be able to understand the history of how did you get to any particular state. But not only that, if you're using pipelines today, we are generating descriptions for the things that you deploy. So you will have like a English or whatever language you prefer. We support all language. I support that will explain the journey from A to B. But that said, that's not all. If you start with the plan designer, which is how we believe that all applications will be created, basically you start with a business problem, you define a plan, and the plan is the manifestation of what your application does. we should get to a point that replaces the Solution Explorer. That's kind of like a live document in a way that explains what your application does, right? Basically, the combination of that plan where you can see the plan, and we are thinking about how do we introduce history to understand the historical concept of how did you arrive to the current state in the plan. We believe that that is the way in which these things are going to happen. So the short of it, if I copilot myself in this complex answer that I gave, the way that you do today is you should set ALM pipelines and have descriptions on your deployment such that you can get that trade. But if we look a little bit further with the plan designer, the idea is that the plan designer is a representation of your entire solution, not one app, but the entire solution. And in the plan designer, first, it reflects the current state, but there is an artifact that also reflects all the things that happen leading to that state. So you have those two layers, the one that you can understand at that description, kind of like natural language or that grain of interaction that you have with the plan designer. And if that's not enough, again, you will always have that ALM trail of all your deployments that you did with pipelines with descriptions.
So real fast, and will that plan become knowledge that you can ask like an agent for information on that so you don't have to go and sift through the plan?
That is a really good question, and that we are working through. I don't have a good answer for that yet, but what I would say though is everything that is in the platform could become knowledge. The plan should become knowledge for itself. Of course, there's a lot of context in the plan. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you have the plan and you have a data model. Would be interesting to evaluate the data model against the plan to see if you have the right data model for the plan. So every piece of experience that you have in the application that is serving an agent could be knowledge for that agent. Another good example is like all this form, the data entry agent. The context in which is embedded is knowledge for that agent. So the short of it is like the plan can be knowledge for the agents in the plan themselves, but that's something that we are thinking. But I think it's a fantastic thought, and I think that's where we will end up going.
That's Inception, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So as we're coming up and we're wrapping, I know you've got sessions at Ignite, and for those that can't attend in person because it's sold out immediately, are there any plugs that you like to make for your sessions so people going onto the Ignite site can get added to the backpack and watch the presentation? Because it'll be hybrid, it'll be filmed, and there'll be slides to view and everything. So what sessions should they be interested after listening to the podcast?
I should know this of memory, but I don't fully. But I'm going to throw 4 or 5 sessions. I hope that I can remember them all. I would recommend them to go to Ryan Cunningham's Platform and Vision Roadmap session. That's going to be a general session where you will get like a really good vision, a really good overview around how you build, what you build, and how you manage, govern, like the entire, kind of like intelligent apps vision and roadmap, including like how agents change the landscape of applications and everything that we talked at the beginning. The next one that I would recommend, and I'm going in order, I'm not sure what the order of the sessions is yet, but there's another one session by Ryan Jones and someone else, which I cannot...
Sean, Andy, and Ryan Jones, yeah.
Which is going to be all about security, governance, and management. And can keep me honest to see if I, or Sean, or Jocelyn, all of it. The other one that I would recommend is Evan, Lou, and myself. We would have a session, which is also similar to Ryan's session in the sense that it will cover most of the things that we have. But the way which I like doing these sessions is a little bit different. So the idea is there will be not that much slides. We start with a little bit of an intro and context. We introduce a business problem.
Oh, I love that.
And then we spend the rest of the session building it.
Cool.
Across like maker and user and governor. And I did that several times. I did that in build. So basically it's like, imagine if it's 45 minutes, 35 minutes demo, 10 minutes slide, something like that. Or even maybe 47, 8 or something like that. We don't introduce much the details of the features, but basically we show them in the context of solving one thing using them all together. So when you leave, you will see how from a business problem, you get to a business solution using all these intelligent app capabilities. And the other one that I would recommend, there is one from Anthony Witz and Matt, that what they will be showing is all these intelligent app features for end users, but in more detail. So basically, they will be the opposite of demos and slides. Mm-hmm. They will have demos, but they will go in the next level of details and agents in your application, those end user agents and whatnot. And Austin Logsen is going to be doing another session, which I don't remember who else, but he will cover also a lot of really great content for Power Apps as well, like the monitoring hub, how you understand what's going on those apps and whatnot, which I would recommend to go. So I think I went through 6, which what I can do is I can send you a quick like note that you can put in the notes, but it's Ryan Cunningham's on the roadmap, mine on let's build something end to end, Ryan Jones on like the admin and governance, Matt and Anthony on like end user and agents in your app, and Austin's on monitoring and like all the governance capabilities. Ken, do you have a session? I think you do have one, right?
Jocelyn and I have a workshop that we're doing, but I think we're pretty much sold out right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty workshop, but yeah.
But I would recommend that one too. That typically, I went to some of those in other conferences. Yours are pretty awesome, and they're always packed. Actually, you guys pack a room every single time.
Yeah, we've never had one. The smallest one we've ever had was 150, and now they're always over 200, sometimes over 250.
And people sneak in too.
Yeah, they sneak in.
I saw that. I saw you always have like another line of people standing on the mat, like you have like the peanut gallery, they call it. I guess that's how they call it, but I don't know. But you always have like
Ken and I are celebrities now.
Absolutely.
That's how this works.
Absolutely.
Ken, did you want to ask your question though?
I do. I'll ask a quick question. So, Leon, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot right here, and I don't want it to seem like you're maybe playing favoritism or anything like that. But over the past 6 months, what's been maybe your 2 favorite feature enhancements? Your 2 favorite features? I think I know one of them, but what have maybe been your 2? I'm not going to ask for 5 or anything like that.
Maybe like my favorite thing all up is kind of like the idea of like this end-to-end cross-persona, the notion of cross-persona scenarios to really solve the problem. Because I believe that thing that we are doing right now, when we started the intelligent applications like initiative, the main idea was having that holistic view to solve problems in ways that others can. And to me, it is not any single feature, but basically that connection across all the features to solve scenario, like the fact that even in some cases, we still did not fully finish those things. But the fact, like that scenario that I mentioned, that is, I have the grid that I can ask questions, but then all of a sudden it will give me a recommendation on something that I could do. Then I can observe how I'm performing, take that recommendation, and with that, go to my maker experience and change it. Those type of flows where we have like the 3 personas and all the products all together, I believe that are super special because they give that kind of like that ability to look like left to right in a way that I have not seen much manifested anywhere else. So again, like to me, more than a feature is a category of features. And are those cases where we cover from making a user super happy to making it easy to build and getting the admins and governance all together. And I believe that we are building multiple instances of those. So every time that I see one of those, I get super, super, super excited.
Yeah, it was a bit of an unfair question that I asked because, I mean, honestly, Leon, I can't pick anything either. I mean, that like, I really couldn't. Right? I just like when the customer asked me the same question, I was like, I can't really do that. The platform to me is just, I know there's just something special about the whole ecosystem. It really is.
Agreed. And you know what, but I think the features where we work across personas and we have that end-to-end, in my opinion, those are truly spectacular because the reality is I don't see anyone else I have not seen anyone else that things materialize that way. That is from an end user that is enjoying like a world-class experience that we made more productive, happier, and smarter, to the admin that is able to sleep at night because they know what is going on, and even admin pushing recommendations to a maker on how to make that experience of the user much better, where the user all of a sudden magically gets their everyday better because we understand what's going on, and then we can tell someone to go fix it. I think that virtuous circle is very special. So again, I mean, I know that it's not one feature, but it's a category of features. But again, I put in the mix, not only when I say admins and then users and makers, I also include privacy, governance, security, other things, because building an AI feature, an AI prototype is very easy. In fact, I built one yesterday. I mean, you can sit down and you can call the OpenAI endpoint, doing it securely with privacy in a way that has observability, that can be controlled, that is enterprise ready, and all those etc. That's really, really hard and really, really expensive. Sorry, Jocelyn, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to quote Sean and continue to tell you how awesome all of this is. And truly, you are preaching to the choir when you're talking about all of the security and governance capabilities that you need, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. So I think as we come up and wrap this episode up, I know we've got a lot of information for our listeners to go and check out. We'll have everything in the show notes for everybody to go take a look at. Definitely watch all the sessions that Leon and everyone on Power Apps and security and governance team are working on. There's tons of information on there, and I'm very excited for everybody's feedback on everything too. And so, Leon, we really appreciate your time. We can't wait to have you on the episode because we always like to check in like after, a couple of months after a big event like Ignite or Build or something to see what's the progression, if things went into public preview, what's been the feedback you've collected, how we updated, our features to meet those needs of our customers. So, Leon, we'd love to have you back on And this was an awesome show and so much information. This rocked.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I'd love to. And one thing that we are going to be doing, we are putting all these amazing previews in November, December, January. We'll be collecting a lot of feedback. We will learning a lot. We will defining what comes next based on all that feedback. Because Ken, remember the question that you asked a little bit, how do we learn? Basically, it's putting these things out, getting it in the hands of the most amount of users possible, listen to their feedback, incorporate it in the product, fix the things, and repeat. So that's what we are heading to. Well, that's what we are doing right now, and we're going to be doing more of that. So happy to come back with what we learned, like whenever you guys want to happen.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. We'll see you at Ignite.